Hey guys, can everyone hear me? Welcome Rise, and welcome to Anna and Bradley. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for coming to Hong Kong. So we're just before the final of the pitch event, which I know we're all really looking forward to. So before we start, why don't Bradley and Anna just give a quick introduction about yourselves and what type of products you focus on?
Anna, please.
Hi guys, I'm Anna, Gem Fund. We focus on early stage, sort of pre-VC entrepreneurs. We invest in about 400 some companies, and no specific sector, but generally in the TMT theme.
I'm Bradley. I'm an executive at Google. I've been there about 10 years, led product management for products like Gmail, Google Docs, Google News, and most recently Google Photos. I'm also part of the Google Entrepreneurs team. And so here pitches both internal to Google and external to Google all the time. And personally, my wife and I are angel investors in companies like Dropcam and Slack.
Okay, awesome. So I think a good place to start will be talking about the elevator pitch, as there's no point in having a good business, good product if you can't get in front of investors. So what makes a good elevator pitch in your opinion, and what catches your attention? Anna?
I think the first thing is people have to identify the pain point they're trying to solve, and it really catches me when you say the problem and how you're going to solve it. And I think the other thing is just how big the addressable market is. I think probably the #1 reason I personally don't invest in a company is because I don't see a path to a few $1 billion. Like, I mean, Slack's multi-billion-dollar now. The people who invested in Slack, one of the funds, I remember them telling me they only look at things with a $3 billion, a clear path to $3 billion. At Gem Fund, I don't think it needs to be $3 billion, but I'm really looking for at least $1 billion, and that's pretty hard to do, I think. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Bradley?
I guess for me, the interesting thing about an elevator pitch is the elevator modifier on there. The concept of elevator pitch was by the time you get from the ground floor to the 22nd floor, I want to have enough context to know whether or not we should continue this conversation or I should wave goodbye as you exit. So getting right to the point, without a lot of framing, without a lot of, frosting. I want to hear what it is you're doing. And I think this is one of the most important things as we're talking about pitches, is to sort of know the context, know who you're talking to. Is it an academic who wants to go deep on the tech? Is it someone who wants to know the business sides of, what is the addressable market? Is it an hour-long conversation, in which case you can leisurely sort of, take your time and walk them through a narrative? Or is it like you've got to grab their attention in 15 seconds or they're turning to the next opportunity? So really tuning your pitch to the opportunity is, I think, the key skill I keep seeing people miss. They're just sort of not aware of who they're talking to or why, and they just sort of like pull a string on their back and they do their thing completely insensitive to the circumstances or the feedback that they're getting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sorry, one point on that. That's a really good point. There's so many people who pitch, they maybe keep talking for 30 minutes and they haven't realized that they've probably lost the team. So I think,
totally.
Yeah, I like that point.
Yeah, I think the EQ of a founder is so important, and especially with your fund, one of the beliefs is that great businesses are started with great founders. So what do you think makes a great founder, and is that one of the major things you're going to be looking for, like when you're assessing a pitch?
Yeah, I talked about it on startup stage earlier, but basically we look at, broadly speaking, 4 things in the founder. So it's your ability to learn, your relevant experience, your ability to influence, and your fundraising ability. And I think the most important thing I would like to highlight is just that ability to make an impact and influence people. And what that really means is actually marketing and leadership. Like, for example, I was spending time with one of our portfolio companies, VIP Kid, on Monday. I go to her office, and from the beginning, she was like, hey, look at this. And she gave me her phone, and she was showing me all the videos that her teachers had done. And then pretty much and then she was making me read the comments. And then I pretty much realized by the end that she was marketing the entire time. Like, the whole time, she was in sales mode. And that's why, her company's like a $1 billion company in, 2 or 3 years, because she has that momentum, I think, and that sort of attraction.
And Bradley, what do you look for in a founder?
Well, I think it's a really important question, and I think it gets to what I'm looking for in a pitch, which is really a pitch is just an opportunity to get to know the founder and how he or she thinks and the relationship we're going to build. You look at something like Slack, and I said I was an investor in Slack, and that's a half-truth. The truth is I was an investor in the company that Stuart founded well before he knew he was going to build Slack, and it was actually a gaming company. And the gaming company really went nowhere for 4 years. And so doing an analysis of the addressable market and things like that wasn't really a factor. I invested in Stuart. And 4 years into it, because the gaming company had developers in Vancouver and San Francisco and Toronto and Tokyo, they had an internal workflow tool, and they did a massive epic pivot and turn that into the product and turn that into Slack. And so the basis and thesis of my investment was not around any pitch. It was around Stuart. And I had the luxury of having a long friendship and relationship with him. And what I'm looking for in a pitch, absent just investing in my friends, which has worked out pretty well, but as a professional investor, you have to get to know people on the other side of the table. And so I see the pitch as a means of understanding how do they think? Are they tenacious? Really beginning that conversation and getting to know each other, because it's likely that whatever idea you start with is not going to be the one that gets you all the way. And so we're about to take a long journey together, and I want to know who's with me.
Mm-hmm. And when you finally get a meeting with someone like yourself, who's a product guy, and especially at a live big event like Rise, what's your opinion about doing a live product demo? I mean, do you think it's worth the risk in case something goes wrong?
Personally, I'm a huge fan of demos. So I went to the MIT Media Lab for grad school, and usually in academia there's a saying, publish or perish. And so academia is all about getting peer-reviewed publications and getting famous and getting tenure. But at the Media Lab they dispense with all of that, and our motto was demo or die. They've tweaked it a bit. Now it's deploy or die. So it's not just demoing. They actually want to go live into the world. But what that taught us was it's really about building and rolling up our sleeves and creating something that you can show. And again, the nice thing about being at the Media Lab was at any moment someone could tap you on the shoulder, and it could be Nicholas Negroponte, the director and founder of the lab, and he might have anyone with him. He might have a Saudi prince, or he might have someone from the computer science lab who wants to understand what you're doing. So again, in that instant, it might be a 3-minute demo to a prince or a hour-long conversation with a computer science professor, and you had to get really good at showing them your stuff. And it wasn't about slides. We never did slides. We never did pitches. It was about living, breathing prototype software, and I insist upon it. I really, really value people. And I can see through bugs. I can see through crashes. I forgive all that. I'm a developer myself, and I know what that's like. But I'd much rather engage with a prototype, however raw, than a bunch of glossy slides, which anyone could put together.
Mm-hmm. And Anna, I imagine you've reviewed hundreds, if not thousands, of pitch decks over your time.
Try 10,000 plus. Yeah.
So what, in your opinion, makes a good pitch deck? Is there certain things you're looking for and you think founders should definitely include?
Well, we usually go straight to the team page. That's the first day on my job. Bob, our founder, was reviewing tons. I mean, we get 200 emails per day with pitch decks, and he said, "Look, Anna, just go to the team page. That's what I do." And so that's definitely still what I do first. But and most of the founders that we're funding and at the stage of investing, they don't have a demo yet, and they don't have. It's really about the team, right? So in that instance, it's really helpful just to have screenshots of what the product will look like if you can create that, because investors, are dummies. So I think when you have a visual, it really helps, because what you want is, you probably have like a minute of my attention if I'm looking at a BP on screen, right? And if I'm on stage, we do a lot of, every month we have 20 people come in for 4 minutes each. Today's also 4 minutes?
I think so.
Yeah, it's just 4 minutes, and that's enough. So I think you have to get them the very beginning, and if you have something visual, it's just helpful to get pulled in.
Mm-hmm. And Bradley, what do you look for in a pitch deck? Do you go straight to the product page?
Well, one of the things we try to do in the context of the pitches I'm seeing is create a lot of structure. And this was really in our own self-interest. We don't have a lot of time to go fishing through a 40-page deck and say, where is the slide on total addressable market? So we've created something which is highly structured and templatized so that we know exactly where to turn. And again, a lot of what we're doing is sort of, can you whet my appetite that leads into a live pitch meeting where we can sort of get to learn more, or have you somehow disqualified yourself by not being able to answer the simple questions in the structured deck? You know, so we're looking for brevity, we're looking for clarity, and the way that we've done this for the things where I'm a reviewer is highly structured so that we can sort of really compare things against each other in a very easy way.
And obviously, you can have a great pitch, but if you don't follow up with investors, then you're not going to get anywhere because investors are just so busy. So do you have any tips on what's the best way to follow up with investors, and how many times should you follow up before you think it's just a no?
Oh, I think investors will follow up with you.
Okay.
They will. Yeah. I mean, if the deals that we want to be investing in, often there are a lot of people chasing them, and they're going to find you. I mean, okay, in China, for example, last year I remember there were a few deals like where another firm went to that guy's house, waited in front of his apartment for like 10 hours just to get him. I mean, it wasn't our fault, but someone else. I mean, that stuff happens.
So maybe if you think it's going to be a no, but you see the founder is a hustler and keeps following up with you, does that mean you could change that into a yes?
Slim chance.
Okay. Bradley, what's the best way that you think people should follow up?
I think it can get really creepy fast, like I don't appreciate being stalked, and I appreciate people taking a no at face value. If things have changed, given 6 months and you've pivoted and there's a material improvement or difference there, then I'm happy to take another meeting and hear this again. But sort of for me, sort of dogged persistence or stalking behavior is not a plus.
And I'm curious to know your opinion about talking about an exit strategy during a pitch. Do you think founders should know this information before they talk to people like yourself?
A lot of people like it. I personally, I don't always, I mean, it's in the back of my mind, what's the exit here? But usually if they have that, I mean, if it's an acquisition, it's usually not that big. I mean, for me, it's usually like sub 100 million or a few hundred million. That's not the game that we're in at this point when, each fund has a few hundred million. So, yeah.
And Bradley?
I see it mostly as a trick question that I sort of seed into the conversation. I think there's a couple of wrong answers. For me, a wrong answer would be, dude, we're going to be able to flip this in 18 months for $10 billion. Don't worry about exit. Like something that was sort of greed or purely financially motivated and was really about an exit. Like I want to get the hard work over with so that we can get to the pot of gold on the other side. Wrong answer, because that's not the way this works. I think another thing, which is like, what's an exit? That's also a wrong answer. Sort of, like having absolutely no concern. I would love to toil away at this for the rest of my life so long as you keep shoveling cash at me. That's not good either, So something between those two extremes where they're sort of, look, exits are part of what you're investing for, and I get that, and I have the pragmatic approach to know that sometimes my dreams can only get realized in the context of a bigger outcome. But I'm willing to stay here and work. I'm in love with this problem, and I'm excited about the work, and I'm here to do it. That's sort of what I'm looking for.
So in general, you're looking to see if the founder's committed. They're not looking to have a quick exit, and they're really believing in building the product and focusing on the customers. So last couple of questions, but do you have any advice for the pitch finalists who are about to come out? If you could give them a couple of bits of advice, what would you say to them?
First of all, I'm really excited, and I think the fact that these are pre-vetted gets me really excited because I know they've been through a number of rounds and rigor, so that these will all be fantastic pitches and are going to make our job really hard. So I would say, you be relaxed, you be you, just come out here, tell your story. You're already a winner to get up here on the stage and just have fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it's so scary to pitch to VCs and in front of everybody. So I don't even know if I would have the courage to do that. So, but there's so many amazing investors and angel investors out there, and I think sometimes, you have to get started. And in terms of fundraising pace, I mean, it doesn't always have to be like a lot of money in the beginning, but I think just getting started and proving your product market fit is really important.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, well, thanks for sharing your tips today. Really appreciate it. I think we'll let the guys get ready for the pitch, but let's give these guys a big round of applause.